question is, are you ready?
What do you guys want to talk about?
Let me talk to you. Yeah.
Throwdown Nation, we are live. It is a Monday night. We are rolling on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter /X, Facebook, and Twitch. It is episode 106 of the Throwdown, and today we are throwing down with a pro wrestler and also Chief Operating Officer of All Caribbean Wrestling, Mr. Showtime, JB Cool. How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing just great. I feel good and I look even better. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely, man. You know, Bruce Cross actually turned me on to you. And, you know, because I had him on the show a little while ago and you know, he was like, you got to get JB on. So thankfully it all worked out, man.
Yeah. Bruce is a real good guy. Real good guy.
He is. And you know, he is was definitely a great ambassador for the company. So
yes. Oh yeah, he does that really well. I don't take nothing away from him when he does that. I absolutely appreciate it.
Yep. And for those of you that are watching this live, if you have any questions or comments, just feel free to throw them in the chat and we'll either handle them as we go or do a little Q&A at the end. So we'll go ahead and get started with the first and most obvious question, and that is, how long have you been wrestling?
Well, I'm going to say I got my start in 1998. And I'm still going.
Nice. Yeah, that 1998 was when my wife and I got married.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So who actually initially trained you?
Well, I first got started by a gentleman that used to work with WWF back in the day. His name was Rusty Brooks. Right now, God rest his soul, he has passed on a few years back. But that was my original trainer, Rusty Brooks.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, you know, another fairly obvious question is, you know, tell us about the association with All Caribbean Wrestling. How did that come about? And, you know, tell us a bit about what you do as the Chief Operating Officer. I know Mark Henry's the CEO, so I imagine you work pretty closely with him.
Yeah. So that came about just like every wrestler that, you know, bust their ass with training and trying to get a big job. I mean, everyone knows the big job on any level. It's WWE, and now you have AEW, you have, you know, New Japan or places in Mexico where you can go and get your time in. But ultimately, for the most part, everyone's trying to get a job at WWE, and I've done that. I've tried. I've had tryouts. I had opportunities, and I just couldn't get them to get me the papers to sign the dotted line. However, I did work with this company back in the year 2000 to 2002. They were called the Urban Wrestling Alliance, and at that time, they had a contract deal with UPN, and we were on TV, and that helped give me some exposure being from South Florida and Miami. Got some national exposure, and they flew us out to California and Los Angeles, where we met a lot of people. We did some training at Doug Anderson School out there. That's where I met cheerleader Melissa and a few others that you may know that were trained out there. And having my time in that company, once you get that exposure, then you on TV, you get exposure to the rest of the world. And as a indie wrestler at the time, well, I was TV contracted, but then after the company went under, you got this exposure, and you're no longer stuck in a small bubble of either just wrestling in your hometown or trying to find different indies. You get exposure that there's international experience and exposures that you can get. And of course, you start, oh my God, yeah, you're right. There's Mexico, there's in Japan. Then you hear, no, there's more than that. You're like, wait, what? And you get some of the old school guys who used to come around, especially in Florida, and they would tell you, like, companies like NWA and Florida Championship Wrestling, they used to always tour down to the Bahamas and partner with those in Puerto Rico, like Victor Chavica, Carlos Colon, all of them down there. And they used to hit the Caribbean islands to where they had shows in Puerto Rico, Trinidad, Bahamas, of course. And they were like, it's just an untouched market. No one ever really goes there. But the NWA did go there a couple of times. They actually had a Bahamian championship title that was held by a gentleman called by the name of the Haitian sensation Tyree Pride. And
okay.
And in the Bahamas, and this is the Bahamas, you had Tyree Pride would be comparable to, what Hulk Hogan was to the wrestling world in the Bahamas. And his nemesis of all people was Kevin Sullivan, the Taskmaster.
Interesting. Yes.
Yeah. So everyone in the Bahamas, if you go down there and mention those two names, they're going to be like, oh my God, we love Tyree Pride, but we hated Kevin Sullivan. Like, to this day, God rest his soul as well, but to this day, he is the evil villain that brought evil to the island. Like, he was that type of heel back then. And so, like I said, after Urban Wrestling Alliance and just hearing about, you can just go to these different places. You don't have to stay in the States. And of course, the thing was trying to get with WWE. You stay in the States, you try to be where the action is.
Right.
But, I've always been into the arts. I've always wanted to branch out. I'm not a second generation talent or anything. So I've always wanted to see what the rest of the world has to offer, because I've always had it in myself to say, like, hey, if you're going to tell me no, it's not because of skills. It's not because of these good looks. It's not because I don't have the talent. It's just because you probably don't have room for me. But I'm going to keep coming. But I want to see what else is out there. If I'm hearing that there's more outside of the United States and in other parts of the world, to where maybe, I could make a reputation. And because you hear about certain guys starting one place and then they're going overseas, and then you hear about all the catch wrestling style in UK and different in Asian and Japan, and you hear about all of this. And you know what? I want to do it. I want to do it. And so I started taking international bookings because I had the exposure from TV. So I had a bit of a name that people could recognize me by. And since they saw me on TV, it was like easy for me to get more bookings. And one time I did get booked in the Bahamas for a company that put just a show together. And some of the kids from there remembered me, and fast forward time, reached out to me and say, hey, I'm an older person now. I'm running my own sports gym, but I would love to do some wrestling. And I'm like, how did you even get my information? And they showed me back then. I used to call myself the business wrestler, where I made business cards for myself, and try to do the best I can to keep my name in people's either in the pocket or just on their mind, fresh on their mind, out of sight, out of mind. If you ever heard of it.
You keep hustling.
You have to. You have to.
Yeah.
The grind doesn't stop.
Mm-mm.
And so the guy, he reaches out to me, and next thing you know, he brings me over and he's showing me uh, all of the things that he wants to do, and I'm like, listen, I've been doing this a while, and he says, yes, I've been watching everything. I was like, wow, okay, and it's flattering. I appreciate it, but what can I do for you? The only thing that we can do is we first have to get a ring. I said, everything else is going to be easy. He says, but what about the talent? I'm like, don't worry about the talent. You get a ring, then the talent will come. It's like the movie, if you build it, they will come.
Yep.
So we went and he introduced me to some people, and next thing you know, this was our first international show. It was in the Bahamas, and we got the ring over there. Then all of a sudden, the spirits of the people were lifting up, and you could almost see it. He would walk with me everywhere, like, "Hey, this is the wrestler I was telling you about." And I'm like, "What were you telling them?" I'm trying to figure out, but they're coming up to you, hugging you, feeding you, and it's like, and the people in the Bahamas, they love to eat. They got great food. Let me explain something to you, but they love to eat, and so with that relationship, it was just like explaining to him. I was like, well, this is what I want to do with the company. The company I have at the time is called Fighting Evolution Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I built it up to have another indie company, but out of the South Florida, because there were none. There were none down in South Florida. Most wrestling companies started in Orlando and north. So you had the Florida belt from Tampa to Orlando, all of that, but nothing south. There were maybe one company that was doing something south, but at one point you didn't know if they were going to do anything or not. So I wanted to do Fighting Evolution Wrestling. I wanted to do some things different. And of course, everybody starts to come and say, I want to do something different. But no, I really started doing some things different. Like my first school, I got too much into my artistic self that I painted a green sick around the whole ring. So it was green screen walls. I had the ring. I did some video stuff. I was just like, I want to do more production stuff. I said, because how I look at pro wrestling, the art form of it itself, I love it. Right? The storytelling is the creative. It's very attractive to me, especially being a creative. And so I wanted to do some different things just with the production. I didn't really want to do a full out indie company. I wanted to do a production company and provide some different things that you never know. I'm a person that you throw it against the wall, let's just see what sticks. But as long as you were throwing something, you're not sitting back waiting. And so having that, we did the show as that company in the Bahamas as Fighting Evolution Wrestling. So when we did the show, everybody there was like, man, is there a way this could be for us, for the Bahamians, and or for the people? I said, well, doing my homework, wrestling hasn't just been here, it's been everywhere. There's a famous story in the Dominican Republic, and some homework for you, if you all the listeners, is Jack Veneno, Dominican Republic. Ric Flair was the NWA champion, went to Dominican Republic to defend his title, and Jack Veneno beat him. However, the NWA never recognized it. So, but it was huge. It was hard for Ric Flair to leave. They said like they had to get the National Guard to escort him out. That's how crazy it was, right?
Yeah.
But then there's another location. So I'm like, wait a minute, there's Bahamas, there's Puerto Rico, there's Dominican Republic. There have been spot shows in Haiti. There's been, and of course Trinidad, and in that area, like I said, the Puerto Ricans would go down to Trinidad and do stuff because that's where Abdullah the Butcher cut a lot of his work. Bruiser Brody, SD Jones, all of these guys, they did a lot of stuff in the Caribbean. So I'm like, man, wait a minute. I'm going to rebrand Fighting Evolution Wrestling. And I'm just like, I need to come up with a name, that's going to fit not just Bahamas, but all the Caribbean islands. And I'm just like, what? All Caribbean wrestling. And it just makes sense. And so the people, they loved it. They were like, oh my God, we love that name. I was like, you sure? We're just throwing it out there. But they fell in love with it. And now that we're operating and I presented a plan to do future shows in these different islands, they roll out the red carpet. They're so happy that they actually get a live pro wrestling show on the islands, other than them trying to stream WWE, where that comes on actually on Monday night or Tuesday morning Raw. Is just when they get it.
Right.
They're happy. Some of them that are uh, blessed enough to have their visas and passports, they will save their money and they'll do the carnival parties, but they'll go to a WrestleMania because that's the Caribbean folks are made up of a bunch of West Indians as well, and they love pro wrestling. So having us being able to come there and do live events, it's no competition. That's the best part about it. So
Yeah.
Being able to do it and sustain it to where they are happy that we're bringing over people that some of them they know that has either been with WWE or AEW or whatever company that they know. Some of them they don't know, and we get to build our own stars. And now, when I presented the plan to Mark Henry, who I was introduced to, he tells me, he's like, man, he shares with me and his wife, and shows me an email where he actually presented an idea like this to Vince McMahon, and he shot it down. But when he saw that I was doing it, and he was like, man, I want to see how this could work. And I showed him, I said, look at this. And he was like, I want in. And when he came in,
awesome.
yeah, we talked about it, and we talked about the business side of it and how he was like, he want to do best what he can. And I was like, well, I believe if this company is to move forward, is that you are in charge and not just the ambassador as a face. And I was like, how do you feel about that? He goes, I want to do it. So got with the lawyers and got everything. He's in charge, and I'm his day-to-day guy. So as the COO, my job is to make sure that anything that comes up as far as the bookings, as far as making sure all the talents are wherever, because we have a director of talent relations who also was in the WWE as a referee. His name is Justin King. And so he handles like talent in their specific issues. I'm just the day-to-day making sure all the paperwork we need gets signed. Everything for promotions are going out. All the permits we have is in place. If there's any decisions that doesn't need Mark to be on, I make those decisions. And things, so that pretty much I'm the support system of the company.
That is it. That is so cool that you've sort of staged a revival to some extent of wrestling in the Caribbean, and you've kind of given the people down there something to call their own again in terms of professional wrestling.
Exactly.
And I love hearing stories like that, man. And it's funny. You brought up Kevin Sullivan. I've been a fan since I was around 11, and I'm 55 now.
Okay.
So, and my first exposure to wrestling was as a kid in Florida, watching Florida Championship Wrestling back in the early 80s with Gordon Soley doing the commentary. And the first feud I remember was Kevin Sullivan and Dusty Rhodes.
There you go.
And, when you're 11 years old, Kevin Sullivan's a scary dude.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I mean, you find out later the man was actually a total sweetheart, but he portrayed a scary villain extremely well.
I mean, from the time that I had a chance to meet with him and talk with him, he's done a couple things with me.
Mm-hmm.
Very smart as far as the creative and how things to be to help draw the people in. And I took some of those notes. I was like, I want to, definitely. Very smart. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. So, You know, a recent guest of mine sort of brought this concept up, and I've actually started including it in my repertoire of questions.
Okay,
And just because I just think this is an interesting challenge. Try to sum your wrestling persona up in 5 words.
greatest show on earth.
Nice. Nice. I like it. Like
Yeah,
it. So, you know, I'm presuming that you've been at least a fan probably the majority of your life. Is that pretty accurate?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, as a kid, especially growing up with the majority of my older brothers playing football, basketball, and just wrestling was not a thing in the household. It was you get outside, you go learn to catch, you go learn to shoot, and you learn to box.
Yeah,
But I wanted Saturday morning kung fu theater and pro wrestling.
gotcha.
Um,
Gotcha.
and I'm Dusty Rhodes was always one of my guys. Kevin Sullivan was. I'm not gonna say he was my guy, but it was to the point to where it's like this guy with the big legs. This this guy is just like so like a stocky guy. That's like, man, he's just killing people. It's like
Hmm.
I want somebody to kick his ass. I don't know who it is. I don't care who it is. Somebody's got to do it because this guy can't keep getting away with it. But it drew my attention because, like I said, I've always been a creative, big fan of comics, and uh, I always learned when I learned how to draw. You learn how to draw the comic book characters with all of the definition of the muscles and things, and then you see these guys on TV looking like your heroes, and they're doing this fight. It's like, what is this? It's like, oh god! But always been a fan, and yeah, I've had some favorites that I just couldn't help but to watch. And again, like I said, Dusty Rhodes, even Magnum TA, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, you
Hmm.
of course Ric Flair, because just Ric Flair the way he talks, Dusty Rhodes the way he talks,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
um, and your Road Warriors, and then you had guys, and that was mostly because I grew up in the South, so you get a lot of the Southern style of wrestling in the background. You had the Purple Haze, if you remember that guy.
Oh yeah, Mark Lewin.
Right, yeah, so
Yeah. Yeah.
right, so you get all of those characters, and then when you switch over at that time, it was of course WWF, but then of course everybody and mother loved Hulk Hogan, and but then behind Hogan, it was the Junkyard Dog, it was
Hmm.
Macho Man, um, uh, the Killer Bees, like
Oh yeah.
as a tag team, and then of course you had the from NWA, you had the Rock and Roll Express, and then WWF had the
Hmm.
Rockers,
Yeah.
uh, yeah,
Midnight Express.
Midnight Express. Oh
Uh,
my God, those guys.
yeah.
You had the Legion of Doom, and then
Hmm.
you had Demolition.
Yep.
So it was like to me, it was fun times, where I had both wrestling types going on, and uh yeah, some of my favorites were like I just mentioned them, but I also like some of the bad guys. I mean, Jake the Snake was the guy.
Oh, you
Like
know,
I didn't know what you were gonna get. Was it gonna be good or bad this week? He always gave me that he wasn't bad, but I'm not good.
right.
I'm just gonna come and get you. You don't know when it's coming. You
Yeah.
better be ready. You started with me. Bad News Allen, that guy, he was actually a judo guy, and he was
Hmm.
just he was just always, oh, I'm just gonna do this, and it's just like, and he does it. It was like, wow. The British Bulldogs when they were a tag team,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
that's a lot. I could go
Yeah.
on and on, but
Oh yeah.
um, first, uh, the standouts, they they all did, for the most part, because I just love wrestling.
Hmm.
Again, the creative part of it. It wasn't until I started taking on the honest of training myself with going into school with Rusty Brooks and saying, "All right, let's see what this is all about." And then you start realizing some of the guys and gals that you watch, you're like, well, wait a minute. I think I need to watch this person now, even though they were not getting that much publicity, but they are doing things that is unbelievable because you start learning the difference, you know.
Yep. Yep. You know, you brought up Jake Roberts. You know, something I always loved about him
Mm-hmm.
is his promos.
Oh yeah,
He would very rarely raise his voice.
he
He
didn't have
would just he would just project menace by just quietly and calmly telling you what he was fixing to do to you.
right,
And that's to me, that's more effective than a guy ranting and raving with the veins popping out of his head. You know,
right,
they say fear the quiet ones.
right,
And
right.
yeah.
And I used to look at that and say like, man, he because again I played sports, so you always have the guy smashing his face against the locker, trying to hype himself out, and he's going out on the field and he's going crazy, but he's also the one that like he can't take somebody talking down like, oh, you're not, if it's a muscle guy, oh, you're not that big, and he's self-conscious, like, oh no, you should have told me that I'm going to go crazy. But then growing up how you grew up, you always had that one person just in your regular life that will say, hey Matt, you do that again and it's going to be me and you.
Yep.
Versus somebody going, you know what, Matt? I'm like,
yeah.
But if somebody told me that, it's more of a like, yeah, I'm not messing with that guy. Because you don't know when he's coming at you. That was the one thing that I was enamored with Jake. It was like you didn't know when he was coming because his whole persona is like I even tell people when I train, it's like if you want a master class, like you don't have all these master classes of art and all this stuff. So if you want a master class in wrestling and how to get over, I think you need to study a tape of Jake the Snake.
Mm-hmm.
They look at me, I'm like, I said, I don't want you guys to look at wins and losses or, world titles. Don't look at that. You look at the person that takes their persona and matches their entire gimmick and character. Because if you say Jake the Snake, but then I tell you, trying to think of somebody, I don't want to bury nobody here, but you'll remember that name. You don't know when the snake is coming to bite you. He literally did that, and it was like, okay, wow, he's doing things that you didn't normally see in wrestling, to people that normally wasn't done. And I think the next time I saw that in wrestling was when The Rock started cutting promos on everybody because nobody never did it before, like to Taker and to everybody. Nobody would touch him. So Jake the Snake earlier in the career was doing that. He was like, I'm like, this man just slapped Hulk Hogan? Yeah, he did. Now I'm watching video. I'm like, he slapped Hulk Hogan. But nobody else would do stuff like that. And he was like the guy that would do it. And it was like, oh man.
Right.
He means that when he says, don't do it again, you don't know when I'm coming for you. And then pop. I'm like, he just slapped Hulk Hogan. You know what I mean? So, and then the most famous one was when he had the snake, and everybody, I think I cried when I was a kid. When the snake bit Macho Man. Oh no.
Good times, man.
I think I remember telling my uncle, my brother's like, man, you missed it. The dad had the snake in the ring. He was like, what? I was like, yeah, the snake bit him. It's like, yeah, it was crazy.
But being a Jake Roberts mark, though, I've hated over the years seeing the DDT get relegated to a mid-match move as opposed to a finisher.
Right.
Because I mean, nobody can do a DDT like Jake Roberts could.
Right.
And I've got such respect for how Jake did it that just seeing the move get relegated to more of a setup move, it just hurts me. You know?
Yeah, and that's the one thing that I'm teaching and I'm trying to make sure everyone understands. Like, listen, um, when you working on your persona now, and I feel that the way the business is and how it is today, you have to find a way to take care of yourself.
Yep.
Are you in it for 1 to 2 years, or are you in it for the long run? Because if you're in it for the long run, don't just be using setup moves, because what's going to end up happening, you're going to end up taking food off of somebody else's table, because
Yep.
you're going to run out of setup moves, because the people are going to get tired of seeing it because you do it too much.
Yep.
As a you're being in the business of entertainment, it's like a magic show.
Yeah.
If I see the trick the first time and you amaze me, don't show it to me again right away, because I'm gonna figure out what happened, and then I'm not gonna like it.
Yep.
But if you could come another time and say, "Oh my God, he did it again," I was like, "How did he do that?" Moves like a DDT, and it can still be powerful, and it's just got to be placed right. It could be a finish; it's just got to be placed right.
Yep.
You have a lot of wrestling nowadays where you have phenomenal athletes.
Oh,
People
for
that are
sure.
doing stuff that the people in the 80s are probably just like, oh my God, I got to go after that. No, I'd rather sit down. No, hey, y'all can go 10 more minutes. I'd rather sit down. Phenomenal athletes, and and not picking on or trying to bury anybody, but the talent themselves, men and women, are just looking better, looking, the sell of the being able to sell your face. And however, I believe that there's still room, because there is enough TV time for some storytelling,
Yep.
in-depth storytelling, and being able to not saturate so many moves, because what's going to end up happening is, if you make a move, like we're saying, like, oh, it's just been relegated as a setup, now the people that are following you are going to say, oh, if that's all it is, then it's just a setup.
Yeah.
And so now it's nothing special. But then what you think is going to happen when you come up with something special? They're going to say, oh, I can do something better than that. So I'm going to use that as my setup. You're special.
Yep. Yep.
And so
it's all just part of the evolution.
it's evolution. And part of it, which really helps, is because in the Caribbean, especially in the Caribbean market, they love the storytelling, because they're into that. I even had a fan over there ask me, they say, hey man, they did a face like this. Hey, what type of wrestling are you bringing? Are you bringing that WWF, even though it's WWE? You're bringing that WWF, or are you bringing an NWA? When I heard that, I automatically knew exactly what he was talking about. I said, listen, I don't know about that WWF, but we doing that NWA style. He shook my hand really hard. Thank you. That's what I want to see. And I'm like, wow, okay. I'm going to give you exactly what you want. And so, they want the storytelling. They want to be involved, because they don't know when it's going to come back, so they could take it home with them and talk about it. But if it's just like a match and you go through it, a lot of people can't talk about it because they don't know the moves until commentary or you tell them what it is that you just did.
Right.
It looks cool. It's phenomenally put together. I have no idea how can I explain that to somebody, what just happened, when I don't know the name of the move. It was just a move. And so you technically are doing something really cool while at the same time burying yourself.
Yep.
Because fans want to feel involved. And the more I can involve you, the better off I'm going to get over, because people like to buy what they know.
Yeah.
You don't go to the store and try new toothpaste, new toilet paper, new nothing. You go get what's been good to you, and you get it all the time. And so, I try to train. I'll say it again, when I'm training, there's nothing wrong with you doing all of that stuff, You could do it in a safe manner. You could do it artistically. You could do it because you're an athlete. Some of that stuff is what you bring naturally to the business, but don't get to the point to where you run out of stuff to do, because you're going to be the one saying, well, I tried that wrestling and it didn't work. I'm like, oh, because you gave everything on the first week. Oh, okay. Well, then,
Yep.
So it's hard because you give people the stage first time, of course, like anybody, they want to show everything they can do. It's like, I don't need to see everything. And so sometimes you got to have someone that could save them from themselves.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When Bruce Cross was on recently, we got on this topic, and he was talking about how in the Caribbean, kayfabe is still a very real thing.
Yeah. That's pretty much what I'm saying right now. To when that fan asks which style of wrestling am I bringing, I'm like, yeah, we're bringing that because they want the stories. They want to know that the heels are not hanging out with the faces. That they want something to talk about. And in this business, and it's not just wrestling, but it's just in the business of entertainment, is just the reason why we go to the movies, and why movies have either the cliffhanger endings, or so I could give you something to talk about, because that's going to further develop. First of all, it's going to further develop the company, All Caribbean Wrestling, because you want to know when we're coming back. Hey, All Caribbean, you want to write to us now, especially with all the access we have with all the social media and email, all the access. You want to get people that are involved like that, because they're the ones that's going to keep spreading the word that, hey, we got our own thing. We do this, and this guy or this girl is this and this, and so it's very, very, very still alive. And when we go over there, it's like, we make sure we keep it that way. We tell them, don't be hanging out, doing all of this stuff. We're here to work, and we're in our own lane. So we're not bothering anybody. We're in our own lane. We have no competition other than when they stream WWE. It's funny. I can take someone like Bruce Cross and myself, and we'll be way more over than the Young Bucks. And I'm not trying to bury them. It's just the fact that they over there, they don't know who they are, because they don't have access to the American cable system. They don't know who they are. You know what I mean? But we've been there. They know our faces, and they'll go crazy. And recently, me and my partner, we had a match against the Infantry from AEW.
Yeah.
Carly Bravo and Sean Dean, very, very talented and good-looking guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in the end, the people wanted to see the girl from the Bahamas. We have a girl from the Bahamas. She was formerly in NXT, Kalia Capri, and she was the champion. I put these guys up there. There was like, man, unfortunately, there was no fan love. I'm so sorry. I hate to say that, but it was the truth. They all went to her because she's been there and she's their people. And so I try to explain to them, like, that's how it is here. It's not that saturation in the States where everybody knows who you are. They don't.
Yeah. Yep.
They don't,
Yeah, they don't know who you are unless you're theirs.
Unless you're theirs. Exactly. And unless you've been on WWE, because that's all they watch, know. And I would love to, continue, working with guys like that, because they are good. They're very talented. I don't know why they're not one of the top draws of the tag team division in AEW or Ring of Honor. They have that potential. And guys like that, when they call me up and want to come work, I'm like, man, let's make it work. Let's do it. Bring you down. And they loved it. But being able to be, like I said, in our own lane, building our own stars, like Bruce Cross, he's in the Bahamas. It's like, Bruce has had some injuries in the past for himself, where he's been in and out. But down there, he's over. He's well loved, and I love to see that for him. And so being able to build our own stars is one of the best things, because then I get to be even more creative and do some things and show them that this can work. Because currently, right now, I have, through my school of training, 4 people that over the past I would say past last 8 years, because I really, the COVID years
Right.
I don't know how you look at it. You look at it as time lost, or you just cut it out and punch it together. But one of my first students is Red Velvet, who is the
Yeah.
current Ring of Honor Women's Champion, TV champion. So she was my student, and we talk almost every other day. And she still asks me for stuff, and I give her stuff. And I tell her, this is what you got to look for. This is the wrestling. I said, I want to talk wrestling. What about the business? I said, well, this is what you do for business. Another one of my students who right now is in WoW, doing really well. Paola Mayfield, the Colombian goat, that's the thing she's doing up there in WoW. Another one of my students, Layla Gray, she's doing some stuff, good stuff for her. My African tag team party had WWE tryouts, and now he's being mentored by Ron Simmons. So
nice.
So the thing is, I try to tell them, I'm like, listen, the number one thing you want to have going into this is the business acumen, but you also want to be different. And don't go out there trying to do what everybody else is going to be doing, because they're too busy you're impressing nobody but for right now, the people in the back. And again, I'm not trying to bury anybody.
I get it.
But if I don't know what it is that you're about to do, and you're just doing this stuff, I'm like, there's no setup, there's no build up to it. And I always used to tell my students, I said, guys, I want y'all to take the Undertaker, right? For example, this guy would come out, work the gimmick, but when it was pay-per-view time, he would always hit that dive over the top. Like, he didn't need to do it every night, but he made it to the point where it was special. And you knew when he hit it, it was like, he's about to change gears. And I said, that's what you have to be. Be more and know the difference between your character name and your gimmick. I said, some people confuse the two and they make it everything. Oh, my gimmick, and they'll say their character name. I'm like, okay, but the gimmick is what's bringing me to you.
Yeah.
What's having me sit in my seat? I don't go bowling. I don't go to the movies. I don't take my kids to the mall. I came to watch a wrestling show. What's the gimmick that's going to keep me coming back to you? What's your? And they're like, well, I'm a good wrestler. I don't know that. I've never seen you wrestle. I'm here tonight. And I say, that's how I train. So you got to find something that you can get to the people easy, that they can follow. And 2, make sure your moves you can do to everybody. I said, because I'm a big guy, I can press some people. I'll do it when I need to, but I'm not doing it because I can't do it to Big Show. I can't press you. I can't do it to Mark Henry. I don't think he will let me,
And he would have to let you.
Exactly. And so why would I waste a move on something that my character, first of all, physically couldn't do, but my character wouldn't do that. And I said, and sometimes in training, I would sit down and we'll just watch old movies. And I'm like, we'll watch new movies. I was like, we'll watch from John Wick to, old movies from like the Goonies. I sit there and Rocky, and I'm like, look at Rocky, look what he's going through. That's the underdog. That's the baby face right there.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Apollo. Look, he's the super heel. But look what type of heel he is. He's an arrogant heel. Yep. I said, you have those characters. I said, but now you go back to the Goonies. These 3 are one of 3 of them. The guys are arrogant, but the lady, she don't care. She's like, you better do it what I say, but they'll go do it their way. And it's like, that's why it didn't work out for them. I said, we'll go watch stuff. And I'm like, I want you guys to understand this is why you fell in love, because you love, you didn't realize you love the journey that these characters, when first came on screen, that they took you through. And I said, that's part of the creativity. When I'm writing, it's like I'm writing out a journey. You may go out and lose this first match. That ain't got nothing to do with where you're going to end up on the journey. You know, you can't win them all.
No.
Can't win them all. So, yeah.
And if you did, it'd be boring.
Oh my God.
I mean,
it would be. You know what I tell them too? I say, okay, I said, you know, you may not like the old school movies the way I do it with you guys. I said, but I'm gonna give you one example that hopefully I can connect with you on, and it's video games. Everybody like video. They're like, oh yeah, we love video games. You ever play Street Fighter? They go, yeah, okay. And I said, what if every character, even though they're different, but they all fought the same way? Same move, same punch combo, same special. I said, I promise you, every last one of you will be back at GameStop that same night or the next night because you already beat the game.
Yep.
So, and you only taking it back because you already know yourself you're going to get bored of it because they're not doing nothing different. I said, but the way it's built now, you got people from India, from Japan, from wherever, and they all got different specialties. And I said, that's how you got to be. You got to. That's where sometimes the failure of checks and balances in wrestling comes into play because you don't have some talents that actually. I want to get booked on your show, and I'll say, "Oh, where are you from?" From Puerto Rico. I'm like, brother, I got 3 other Puerto Ricans. Well, I'm different. You told me you was Puerto Rican. Explain to me.
Yep.
Well, I do this. Okay, they do that too. Well, I don't know.
Distinguish yourself.
Right, distinguish yourself. And I'll tell them, I'm trying to give you a job. But you're not saying something that I don't have. You're not giving me something I don't have. And they go, but if you say it like that, you just put me in the category of the other Puerto Ricans. I said, sir, and this is a real example. I'll go, sir, that is my job. I'm not trying to categorize you as one thing. What I'm saying is, I already have you. What am I telling these other guys if I'm bringing another one of them on? You want me to put you with them? Because then I'll bury you. You want to do solo stuff. But then what about their time? Point I'm making to you is do your homework of the company that you're trying to work for and see if you can offer something that they don't have. That's going to help you a lot.
Yep. Exactly.
You know? Yeah.
So, you know, they say that the best wrestling personas are essentially yourself turned up to 11. So, so tell us about, you know, in-ring JB Cool and kind of compare and contrast him with everyday you.
Yeah, that is true. You just turn the volume up. It's like when you first start learning to be a character, it's hard at first just trying to be yourself because you're too busy thinking, here's an opportunity for me to be something different. And you're not realizing you got to work twice as hard to get people to believe that you're this character.
Yeah.
So what I tell my students is the best way for you to really know how you appear and appeal to people is just randomly ask them, when you see me, what do you think of me? Let's start from there. And people would tell me like, oh man, you're just this cool, laid back type of guy. And I'm like, all right, cool. I get that too much. I don't think so. But if that's what you see, and I got to treat you as if you're a person that's going to buy tickets to my show. So I got to cater my character around that. And going back earlier when I first started wrestling and I said, you know what, those guys I like, but then I found other guys. I said, oh, wait a minute. He's doing something that's me. And my guy was Too Cold Scorpio.
Mm-hmm.
Flash Funk.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, wait a minute. I can be, if he's too cold, I can JB cool. You know, I could be cool. He's too cold, yep. I could be cool. And that's how I started out with this gimmick. And I was like with a hat. And I was trying to do it because earlier in those days, he was doing stuff that probably was still other than guys like Ricochet and Will Ospreay back then. He was doing that stuff then. And you
Yeah.
go back to the video. So it was like, wait a minute, this guy's totally different. I want to do that. And then, of course, you have people that couldn't do it. They would say, you don't want to do that. Why? Oh, because that guy doesn't get over. And again, not knowing, because he wasn't getting those main title pushes and stuff, but he was doing what they're all doing. That was my style right there because it fit me. I was young, athletic. I could do all of the flips. I'm like, that's what I want to do. I want to do it like that. I don't care if he ain't been a world champion. I'll become the champion, for him. And so that was JB Cool. It was being able to take my natural athleticism and then incorporate it in the ring and incorporate it with me being able to do flips and be athletic, jump over the top rope, run, jump up to the top rope. And I've always been a fan of NBA basketball. Basketball was one of my first loves in football. But in basketball is where I actually saw the change that gave me the thought process or the mentality to go forward. The change was guys like Charles Barkley dribbling the basketball full court and dunking on somebody. But coming up, when I came up, power forwards were not allowed to do that.
Right.
Centers are not allowed to shoot threes. You know what I mean? So I'm like, man, I want to be different like that. I relate to that because this guy's doing some creative stuff that's making him stand out. And so being able to follow that mold, if you will, it was perfect for me because it fit my athleticism. I was able to do that and come up with creative stuff to do. I still to this day come up with creative stuff because that's just what I am, a creative. And it's like, man, this is going to look so good for TV. And like I said, you go look at Red Velvet, you see all my stuff. She stole everything. And I'm sticking to it. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. She stole everything. But it's so flattering that she's had people talk about Red. She had people there at Ring of Honor AEW come up to her and ask her, like, hey, are you still doing this? Because I want to use it. And I'm like, oh my God, they want to use my stuff. It was like, it's crazy. So, but that's what it was for me. It was more of finding something that fit my actual persona, and then I could just use that and be me. At the time I had a high top fade. Now I'm bald headed. So. But it was, always kept the goatee. It was like, that was the average look of the black man on TV, one of the good looking guys, if you will. Anyway, I'm going to be smooth, this type of character. I'm not going to do all that crazy talk and all that. I just want to do the athletic part of it.
Yep.
And it fit. It fit me. Outside of the ring, again, man, I love writing, being creative, coming up with stuff. I've written a film that we produced on location in the Dominican Republic called Samana. I had an award-winning web series called Mama's Boys. That's actually what got me moved up to Atlanta. And I love photography, the graphic arts. I love traveling and scenic views, seeing different things, different cultures, and just, taking in different perspectives just on how people are living just around the world. So all of that due to the blessing that I've been afforded by the world of professional wrestling. And now that being in the Caribbean, oh my God, it's everything fell right into place. It's like I am where I didn't sign a big WWE deal, a TV deal. I did some little spots with TNA here and there, but now with All Caribbean Wrestling is, self-made, and got a big major partner as far as Mark Henry. And with our TV deal that we have in the Caribbean, having our own app where we're on iOS, Android, and Roku. And just last week, we signed a weekly deal with Triller TV. And we still got more stuff that we're doing. It's just watching how this business has come to me, frustrated me, but I love every bit of it to now where being able to provide a platform and give it to people that still appreciate it, that still believe in everything, that love the storytelling of it. And uh, it's a welcome sight to when we go. So, despite what the news may say, it's not like that at all. Um, except for we're not going to Haiti. Sorry, not yet. We're working
Yeah.
on it. We're working on
Yeah.
it. But
Well,
we can't go right now anyway. So
right.
there are no
Right.
flights. Yeah. But um, right now to where it is, being able to, this is how I, my love letter to the business of wrestling is how I give back and been and doing it uh, via the Caribbean islands.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
you are clearly where God has intended you to be.
Yes, sir.
And it's cool to be in that type of situation and recognize that, you're blooming where you're planted.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And right now it's again, last year this time I was, you know, on my web series, really, really, really hard, going in hard with that because of the belief I had with the creative side of that. But you're talking about within a year, all of this growth. I can only imagine what's going to happen by this time next year, where we're going to be. And I think we're going to be in a good position to where I promise you I'm going to come back and I'm going to be saying, hey, when I told you, I can only imagine where we're going to be. Look at where we are now.
yep,
And so, yeah.
absolutely. So I'm going to ask this question, and it's from the perspective of you as a wrestler, you as a trainer, and you as management within a wrestling company.
Okay.
So from all three perspectives, if you could only be one, would you rather be great in the ring or great on the mic?
Great in the ring or great on the mic? I would rather be. Hmm,
It's an interesting question, isn't
yeah,
it?
it's an
Yeah.
interesting question.
And I've asked that in every one of these, and it's been almost a 50-50 split. And
Yeah,
everybody's got their reasons. And it's really interesting hearing
I
different people.
I think um, I would have to go with great in the ring because I'm thinking about, because when you say great on the mic, I was thinking like, man, I'm creative. I can sit right here and cut 10 different promos 10 different ways because
Yeah.
that comes easy to me. But if I'm able to create in the ring, I think having that with the people that watch, it's harder for people to emulate your promo. They try it, but they'll end up sounding like you instead of sounding like themselves.
Hmm.
But if I can create in the ring, I can train on that and that can branch out into somebody coming up with something like, hey, JB, you did this, but look what I turned it into. And that's gonna be like, yeah, I like that. Let me see that in the show. I tell all my students, I don't ever want anything from them. I'm never gonna ask you to come back and work for me and do all that stuff. All I want is when you get to the big pay-per-view, just give me 2 tickets. That's it. That's all I want. Because I want to see the work in action. Up close. I'm like, look at this. Because that putting in the work and being able to have people that actually, whether they get upset with you, because things gonna happen, because people get frustrated, especially when you get good.
Yeah.
You get good, people start getting frustrated with you. But at the end of the day, uh, being able to see the work that they put in, the work that they're doing, that you trained them on and taught them in, and they trusted you, and what they trusted you with, their career, is actually paying off. So it's like a proud papa moment, if you will. And that's what I love. There's nothing that's a beautiful thing. So I would say great in the ring.
Absolutely. You know, looking over at the chat, we've got a number of people sitting in the chat. We've got a former guest of mine, Dominic DeJesus, who is actually singing the praises of ACW in the chat. I've got the top shotta Travis Alexander from out in California, another previous guest. Joseph Vargasy and Miss Mayhem are all in the Instagram chat right now. All of them saying hello.
Hey, how y'all doing? What's up? Hope all is well.
And let's see here. So, in your opinion, who are the best male and female wrestlers in the world right now?
In the world?
Yeah.
Oh man. Right now, I would have to start with there's a few. There's a few, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention this young man that I don't think a lot of people know of. He works for All Caribbean, and just this Saturday, past Saturday, we just had a show down in the Bahamas, in Nassau, and he lives in North Carolina, and he's another guy that's coming around. He trusts me, and his name is So Fly Manny Low. He's really good. He just had a bomb match with Pope Elijah Burke, who's the current ACW champion. Yeah. It's guys like, I see guys on TV all the time, and I'm quite sure people are going to have their, things, but I'm like, I get to see these guys and girls in person, and I get to see the work they do. There's another gentleman from Puerto Rico that works with me named Jay Rios de la Sangre. And let me tell you, wherever you are around the world, if you're a promoter, if you book Jay Rios, I promise you, you're not going to be disappointed. That's just not me talking. That's just keeping it real, like really real. He does a lot down in Mexico, and he's a real humble guy. And but yeah, man, whoo. But if you're at, it's like asking me to tell me the Mount Rushmore, and my Mount Rushmore is all dependent upon three things. I got a Mount Rushmore of money makers, I have a Mount Rushmore of wrestlers, and I have a Mount Rushmore of just the overall entertainers. So that's actually 12. Those four. So, but females, but there's a lot of guys and girls that, as a promoter, one thing I do is I would go on everybody's page that I can and watch at least one or two matches, from people around the world, especially the ones that I can get to are the ones that are really good with their social media. And I'm telling you, as a promoter, if your social media is strong, I feel that you can bring that energy to us, and we'll talk about doing some business. It's that simple. But there's some people that, man, there's the guy that I just seen on AEW a couple times the past few weeks. Bailey, Mike Bailey.
Oh, Speedball.
Yeah.
That dude is amazing. I've been watching him, during his run in TNA before he came to AEW.
Yeah.
And that guy is just amazingly talented. And I've had some guests on the show that have attended some of his seminars, and say that he's an amazing teacher and just a really cool, humble guy too. So
yeah, it was like who else did I see when they got picked up, and I think he's doing ROH now. Um Brian Keith.
oh yeah,
I love his gimmick.
the bounty hunter.
Yeah, the bounty hunter.
Yeah.
There was man, there's quite a few. The girl we have who's very underrated, but she can work, man. Her name is Cassandra Golden.
Okay.
Like, oh my God. I know I've watched some Jessica Troy. She's pretty good. It's a lot, man. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be remiss if I didn't name talents here. But I'm quite sure some of the people that are listening, they know who some of these names are that I'm mentioning.
There is so much talent out there right now. It's it's such an exciting time to be a fan because there is just so much content out there that there just aren't enough hours in the week to consume it all.
Right. Right.
But and
I don't even know, is Megan Bain signed somewhere yet?
Megan Bain actually she's with AEW. She actually just wrestled Toni Storm last night for the women's title.
Right.
Megan Bain has a really good look.
Yeah, and it's like, we have our women's champion Kalia Capri. Yeah, man, it's a lot of them out there. In this day and age of being a promoter, it's like I'm still a fan, but I also think about, what can they do for this business and to the Caribbean. And sometimes it's hard, I can have someone that's so talented. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta get him. I gotta get her. But we only have so much because we have our TV deal, and our TV deal is now we're only on a half an hour right now. We're matter of fact, we're doing all of this, and this is the pat to just who Mark Henry is, the pat on the back of just Mark Henry himself. He's like, man, he's become like a big brother. Like, he's been very instrumental. He actually helped us. We got the Triller deal, and there's other things that we got. We were at the Arnold Classic, and there's some people that I got to reach out to that we met over there. But we have our half-hour TV deal right now. We're looking to go to an hour format, but we're doing all of this without any major brand sponsors. And so some of the sponsors are shocked because they usually come in before you get TV deals, because you use them to say, hey, this is what we got. Let's go to TV. But we already have the TV, and we have the distribution because we have our own app, and then we have Triller. And so now we have the platform. So now we're doing it to where who can we approach? Because, I believe this. Some people may laugh, but if you just look at the numbers or the stats of it, if we had a sponsor or a backer the same as TNA, we would be killing it right now. Because again, we're in a market that nobody can touch us, and we have no competition. So I'm not worried about some company opening up on the other end of the island,
Yeah.
And then we have that, we would start getting that will be inclusive of our US coverage, because we'll automatically transition it over to having access to the app, because we have an app. And then we'll be able to increase our output of productivity to which is we're on every week now, but then you're talking going from a half an hour to an hour format, or maybe more or more. But we believe right now half an hour is all you need. But if we can get to that hour format,
All the better.
all the better. All the better. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So, knowing everything you know at this point in your life, if you could give any advice to your younger self, what would it be?
um, Learn to hurry up and wait early.
Yep.
That's the best advice I can tell you. Um, in this business, you have a lot of people that discourage themselves because they're not getting something right away.
Right.
And when you're not getting it right away, it's like you question yourself, you question your drive. Why am I doing this? Nobody's doing this for me. And then you start getting frustrating that the bookings you're doing are not going the way you want. And it's like you're putting yourself in a virtual quicksand. You're like everything it's bringing you down. Oh my God, the bookings, this guy sucked. Oh my God, the promoter couldn't pay me everything. And oh my God, my shoot job is this. And woe is me. Everything is happening. And if you had learned, tell my younger self, hey, learn how to hurry up and wait. Like you're not going to get everything at once.
Nope.
Just be patient.
Yep.
Whatever comes to you, whatever booking opportunity, just think about it like this. You were chosen, not the 1,000 million other people.
Yep.
You were chosen for that opportunity.
Yep.
Now, in this day and age, you can film it, photograph it, record it, however way you get it done. And you take that and you learn from it. Yep. But that's what I would tell myself. Yeah.
Yeah. And, this is both a good thing and a bad thing, with technology having gotten to where it is, to a great extent, we live in a world of instant gratification.
Right.
And, and I think because of that, a lot of the younger people don't have the patience that older folks like you and I do, because we've lived in a world where you had to wait on stuff. Everything wasn't just kind of, so many things that we used to have to wait for, you don't have to wait on anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, to some extent, patience is kind of a lost art, especially among the young folks.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's because everything now is either in the palm of your hands or drive through, or you could order something. And so a lot of the stuff that we had to actually get up and go and get done, the dial up of the internet,
Mm-hmm.
the actually going to the library to read and research books, that part of society, yeah, it's not saying it's gone, the internet part is, but I'm just saying that that aspect of actually having to get up and go work, and now you get things faster, so you expect everything to be that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the problem with that is you as a person might have been younger that have grown and got older, and you might have adapted to things that are surrounding your life. But that doesn't mean society and everything else is going to cater to what you want, because you found a way to do it. Because if you could do it better, then you go and make it better for somebody else. Don't be selfish or have an ego about it. But that would be the issue, is because I'm not going to make it for somebody else. Most of the younger folks now, they should already know. I'm like, no, they might not be as smart as you. So, it's when I teach class, I tell the students, I'm like, hey, listen, one of the best things I want you to be outside of trying to be a wrestler is something called be be a good hand in the business. And I asked, have y'all ever heard of that? They're like, no, I don't know what that means. I was like, means don't just be a wrestler. Learn how to do everything. I said,
Yep.
because I said, God forbid, let's say something happens with your heart and you just can't go no more. Do you want to leave the wrestling business, or would you want to stay in it and probably do commentary or something else? You know, that's the
Be a sponge.
get it all. I said, because
Yep.
you never know where you may grow. You may end up running your own business. You may end up running your own company, because that's how I'm training you guys. You learn how to build your ring up. You learn how to build your office, and now you can teach somebody how to do it. And when you want to start your thing, you already know what to do because you've done it too many
Absolutely.
times.
Yep.
And nowadays, you see the production and the cameras are more handheld, and people got cameras and production equipment in the palm of their hands. So, you know, learn to take that, and maybe you could teach somebody. You know, I'm social media friendly, but there's certain things on it that I'm just like, wait, what is that? Oh man, I don't know if I can get into that. You know, but
Yep.
somebody else could say, but hey, you can use it as this. I'm like, oh, there you go, helping out the business. That's what I mean. You're already doing it because you have some knowledge. You know,
Yep.
don't just be a wrestler, and because if it doesn't go your way, you're going to be discouraged. And when most people get discouraged and when they leave, they're going to go discourage somebody else. Going to say, "Oh, I tried to do that and it just didn't work." Well, maybe it didn't work for you, but give it to somebody else and let them see. But give them the ball and let them see what they do with it.
Absolutely. Well, we're getting toward the end of things,
Okay.
and first off, I want to thank you for your time, JB. This has been an amazing conversation. I mean, and I'd love to have you back on in the future and
Absolutely.
talk more, because I mean, this has been, just getting the chance to pick your brain has been an honor.
Absolutely. No problem. It's been fun.
And so before we wrap this up, do you have anything at all that you'd like to give some hype to?
Of course. You know, big shout out to all Caribbean wrestling. Majority of our shows and live events are done all over the Caribbean. We've been to the Bahamas, Jamaica, Trinidad, Dominican Republic, going to Barbados this year is on the map, and many other places. Check us out at allcaribbeanwrestling.com. You can watch us on Roku, the iOS app, Android. Just search All Caribbean Wrestling. You can watch us live on Tempo if you live in the islands. If you DM me, I could get you a channel listing. Or you can watch us on Triller every week, Saturdays at 6 p.m. Saturday Night Vibe for All Caribbean Wrestling. Some of your newest favorite superstars. That's Kalia Capri, the women's champion, Pope Elijah Burke, the ACW champion. We don't say world because we don't fight around the world. We just got our champion.
Mm-hmm.
We have the Russell twins, the young, up and coming, good-looking guys that are tag team champions. Isaiah Zane, a digital media champion. And we got talent that's represented from Puerto Rico to Guyana to Trinidad to Jamaica. We're bringing culture, we're bringing a vibe to the world of pro wrestling on all our social media apps, IG, YouTube. It's All Caribbean Wrestling.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, as far as what we've got coming here at the Throwdown tomorrow night, Tuesday the 8th at 7 p.m. Eastern, I've got episode 107 with a pro wrestler by the name of Psycho Boy Fodder.
Okay.
And then on Wednesday, the 9th, also at 7 p.m., I've got episode 108 with an Atlanta-based wrestler, Too Hot Dion Summers.
You like that name?
Yeah. I've had some conversations with him. I'm looking forward to getting him on the show. He seems like a pretty cool guy. So
cool.
Yeah. So
Check it out.
and actually, I mean, I'm booked up through the middle of May.
Wow.
So I mean that this thing is really taking on a life of its own, and just really having a blast doing these.
Right.
And so So anyway, you know, for those of you that have been watching this live, thank you. For those of you that'll
Thank
be
you.
seeing this on replays, thank you for that. If you like what we've got going here, do the old like, comment, share, and subscribe.
Mhm.
And do you have any final words for the audience, JB?
Work hard, be safe, keep it fun.
Absolutely. Words of wisdom there. So, like I said, I'll be back tomorrow night at 7. And until then,